In this video, we are going to learn about web storage APIs. So, actually, in web browsers, we have support for storage also, and for those, they provide some APIs. In particular, there are two of them. There is something called local storage, and there is something called session storage. Okay, so both of these we are going to learn. What it does is that it creates a persistence storage inside your application, which means that let's say this website wants to store some data in this browser. Okay, and what does persistence mean? Persistence means that even if you refresh, even if you close the browser and open again, then also those data will be available. Okay, so in order to see that data, you go to in inspect element, you go to application tab, and in application tab you will see local storage and session storage. So right now you can see that there is no session storage and there is no local storage. Okay, you have to actually click on the this domain with protocol of the current URL. So there might be the some things which are stored here from our other domains, but for this particular website we will be clicking here. We will also discuss that this storage is particular to the protocol, which means that let's say this website, some website is running on HTTPS, and some website is and the same domain, but that is running on HTTP. HTTP storage and HTTPS storage, they cannot communicate among each other, which means that if you are on HTTPS, then if you stored something using HTTPS, then only that will be accessible. That will not be, and vice versa, it will not be accessible from the other way around. Okay, we'll come back to it. Firstly, let's see that how to what is the syntax. So the first thing is that if you already have so we'll firstly start with local storage, and then we'll go into session storage. So let's see local storage. There is something called local storage, and after that, in this you have a few functions. So you get item, set item, remove item. So get item takes two values. You can one value. You can see that the key which means there is something called, so you can understand it like key value pairs, like JSON objects. Okay, so there will be some key corresponding to that some value you have to store. So if you do set item, then some key, some value you have to store, and then if you do get item, then that particular key, and if you provide that particular key, then you can get the value corresponding to that particular key. Okay, so firstly let's see set item only. So if we have local storage and we do set item, then we'll see that we have key and value, and both have to be strings. Okay, so let's say key is foo and bar is the value. So foo is the key, bar is the value. So this is how you store things. If you want to retrieve things, then you do something like get item and then you just provide the key, whatever the key you earlier used to set the value. Now this is going to return you the data. Okay, so whatever the data item you stored, so this will return. So item will be bar. You'll see that. Okay, first of all, we are going to see that right now there is in application tab, you can see that there is no local storage. Okay, now let's do something like this. Okay, then we'll see that this thing is saved here, you can see, and this will persist throughout the application. Okay, so you can see that not only refresh, let's say you go to some different website and you come back here, then also you'll see that this data persists. Okay, so even if you close the browser and open the browser again, then also it will persist. So this is actually persistently stored inside your browser. So foo is the key, value is the bar. Now once you have stored it, then it is already stored. So you can see that now I'm not doing anything, I have commented that also, but then also it is already stored. That is fine. If we want to access this, then we can do local storage dot get item, and now if I print this thing item, okay, then we'll see that this item will be printed. Where it will be printed? It will be printed on the console. So this foo is the key corresponding to foo key. The value should be item is the value, that value should be bar, and when I go on console, then you see nothing is there. But when I save this, then you will see that the item bar is printed. So the value which was stored here, we have successfully gotten it. Okay, now a couple of things. Let's say you can remove also this thing. So one way to remove is that you can go here and click on whatever you want to delete, and then press this button, then it will be deleted. Okay, once it is deleted, then you will see that the value will be null. Okay, so you are getting null. So if there is no key value pair, and corresponding to that key, if you want to get the value, then you will get null. If it is there, then you will get that particular value. Okay, next, right now I just deleted the thing using using just clicking a button. You can delete that programmatically also. So let me show you. So right now you can clearly see that bar is set and also get. So we have gotten it. After setting foo is equal to bar, we have also retrieved that value bar. Okay, but now I want to programmatically delete it. Okay, so you can see that it will obviously persist. That is fine, but I don't want to delete it manually. I want to delete it programmatically. That I can do it using similar syntax, localStorage dot remove item, and in this remove item you have to provide the key. And what is that key here? In this case, foo. Okay, so if I run this command, this statement, then what is going to happen is that this foo bar will be deleted. So I'll save here, and you can clearly see that this thing is gone. Okay, so the same thing you can do, like again, like this is a web API, right? So you can clearly see that I could have done the same thing in let's say some use effect. Okay, so let's say some use effect is there, and in use effect, let's say on mount, I'm saying that as soon as I mount, then I set this foo value to bar or hello in this case, let's say. Okay, and let's say there is a set timeout, and in that set timeout I'm saying that after, let's say, 2 seconds, after 2 seconds I'm going to remove this thing. Okay, then if I save this, then you will clearly see that you can comment this, and then we'll see that when this component is mounted, then as soon as it is mounted, foo hello will be created, and after 2 seconds this particular stored data corresponding to this key will be removed. So you can clearly see that right now there is nothing. I save it, I go here, foo hello is there, and after 2 seconds it is deleted. Okay, so like normal JavaScript, you can do anything, whatever you want. On a particular interval you can change the values, whatever. Okay, that is fine. And in a similar manner you can store multiple values also. So right now and again, if you set, let's say do this thing, and for the same so right now I'm setting foo to bar, that is fine. Let's say after this again I set foo to hello, then it should not be a surprise that the second one will override the first one, and this final one will be taking priority. However, this is same key. If different key is there, then you can say that, let's say I don't know, data one, some key is there. Okay, now if you save, then you'll see that foo bar and data one hello, these will be the values saved, foo bar and data one hello. So in that pattern you can do anything. So data one is hello, data two is world. Okay, and in that fashion whatever data you store, that will be stored here. Okay, now again, as we said here, let's remove one of the things. So let's say data one I'm removing, then we will see that foo and data one, data two, everything is there. But as soon as I do now, in fact it is already set, so we don't even need this, but we'll see that right now there are 3 pieces of data. Once I do this, then the data one will be gone, only data two will be there, right? So all these things you can do. But what if in one stroke you want to remove everything? Okay, so you have a bunch of things you have set already, and in one stroke you want to delete everything. Then there is something called, so this is like for a particular keys value you want to delete, then remove item, right? If you want to delete everything, then there is something called clear. Okay, so you can see that right now, so whether there are two key value pairs or 20 does not matter, whatever, the whole local storage will be cleaned up. So once this is run, you can see that everything is cleaned up. Okay, so we have learned set item, get item, remove item, and clear. These are the basic APIs which will be helpful to you in most of the cases. Apart from that, now let's try to understand that how do we store something which is not a string. Turns out that you cannot store directly something which is not a string. In fact, let me show you one thing. So you are doing set item, right? And let's try to get the same thing. So what is that same? So we have already done that. Let's reuse this only. Okay, so foo, and we have got this, right? Let's do one more thing. Let's print the type of item. Okay, so it should not be a surprise that the type of value which I'm setting is bar, and it is a string. So when we get that value and print that value and type of, then it will print bar and string, because the type is string. But more importantly, let's now don't set a string, rather let's set something like 100, which is a number. Interestingly, if you save, then you'll see that still 100 string is coming. So what is happening, that data, whatever data you are storing, that has to be string. In some cases, like number is there, then it will automatically convert, right? In other cases, it might or might not convert, but the thing is that you should always, so let's say I am something like hello world. This is an object, right? I'm trying to print this. So you can see that this sort of thing is coming because it took the default object representation. So if you want to persist this the data as a structure of it, then what you have to do is that you have to properly stringify it. So json.stringify, okay, and then whatever data, if that is a string, then directly you can print. If something, even I'll suggest that even number is there, they automatically do that, but for number, but better that always you specifically try to convert it to string if that is not already a string. Okay, and now you will see that you are getting the perfect data. And why this data is perfect? Because now it is very easy to parse it and get back. So now you can clearly see that this thing is not a object. This thing is simply plain string. This is stringified object, which means that if I want to actually get the data, then I can do something like this. The data is equal to, I will have to parse it, right? So json dot parse item. Okay, and now if I do the same thing and I print the data here, okay, then we'll see that now we have converted. So you can clearly see that we have converted this particular string into proper object, JavaScript object. Okay, because this was already a valid object stringified version. We have used json.parse to properly parse it, and now this will be like any other object, which means that I can do normal things like data dot what was the key value pair? I think hello world, right? So I can simply write data dot hello, and it will work out of the box in that sense. So data dot hello is world. Okay, so we have already seen that how to handle these things. Now turns out there is another syntax also. So instead of let's say using set item, what we are doing, let's say foo hello, and we are printing this item. In fact, you can directly do like this also, right? You can directly do like this also, but anyways, I'm just creating a separate variable. But you can clearly see that we are able to get the value hello after setting the value hello. Okay, now turns out that there is another way which is not preferred, but still I'll tell you that that works. So like objects, we can also on local storage, we can directly treat it as an object, and we can do syntax like this. So rather than doing set item, we could also do something like this. This dot foo is equal to, and let's change something. So let's say world. Okay, so this will also work. So you can see here that right now foo is hello. If I save it, then you can see that this foo has become world. So this syntax also works. Not only that, there is another syntax also like this, which is like objects. Okay, so this syntax also works. So let's say world 22 or something. So if I save it, then you can see that this is world 22. But more often than not, generally you should avoid using these syntaxes, and you should only use set item, because this sort of syntax will mostly work but may not work with when you're trying to assign objects or something. So the safest way is to use set item, get item, remove item, those sort of things. Okay, so you can see that this is the most preferred way. Okay, again, like we can access these like we can set these using multiple syntaxes. Similarly, while we are trying to access these, then also, so you can see that hello value we are able to get, but we can also get it using another syntax also. So we can directly do something like this also, local storage dot foo, whatever is the key name. Okay, so you can see that then also we are able to get hello. Again, here also we can do that syntax. So like this. Okay, and again this also works again. So if your key is somewhat complicated, so let's say, I don't know, the key is, let's say, foo next hyphen next, so you can clearly understand that that sort of syntax will not work like this. You cannot do something like this. Okay, so the only way in that case is either do something like this, and you can see that we are getting hello, that is fine, or the another way is that the best way will be that you use the normal syntax, right? Here obviously that any sort of string formation will be allowed. So foo next, here also it will be allowed. And just now we saw that we created foo also, foo next also. So let's delete everything, that is fine. So yeah, in this fashion local storage can be used. Okay, next we are going to see session storage. But before we go there, let me remind you again that whatever we did, so whatever we did right now, okay, so let's refresh and foo next is created. This is created specific to HTTP. Okay, if the same website is running on HTTPS, then again it will see empty. And if it is empty and you create some key value pairs on HTTPS and come back to HTTP, then those will be gone. Whatever you earlier set with HTTP, only they will be available, right? So HTTP, HTTPS, they will be completely separate in case of local storage, because local storage and session storage, this sort of storage APIs are protocol specific. They are specific to various protocols, HTTP or HTTPS. Okay. Now let's go to session storage. Okay, so let's delete this, and now we are going to see session storage. Session storage, you can see right now nothing is there because we did not do anything. In the same manner, so in session storage also syntax is entirely the same. You just need to replace local storage with session storage, right? So there is something called session storage, and all you need to do is that wherever you were using local storage, you can simply replace it with session storage and everything will work. So you can see the session storage dot set item, session storage dot get item. Not only that, the session storage dot foo, everything will work. So let's do something like session storage dot set item and foo next hello. You can see clearly that now in session storage, in local storage, you can see that nothing is there. In session storage, you can see that foo next is available. And again, if you refresh, then this is also persistent, right? So it will, and again, like either you do it like this or you do it like this or set it in a different manner. All of that will work in exactly the same manner. So you can see that this is also working in the same manner. You might ask, okay, then what is the difference in local storage and session storage? The difference is in the life cycle of this storage. Now, what do we mean by life cycle of the particular storage data? Which means that if I'm storing this data in this particular tab, that there is a session corresponding to this tab, which means that right now you can see that I definitely have this piece of data here. So let's say I comment this. Okay, so I already have a set data and I'm just reading it. Okay, I'm not doing any writing here, I'm just reading the data, and you can clearly see that this data is already stored, and that's why we can simply read it. But let's open the same thing in a separate tab. Had it been local storage, it would persist here also, but here you can see that right now there is no data. There is no data because session storage is specific to a particular tab. Okay, every time a tab is created, a separate session is created, and the storage which we are doing using session storage API, that is specific to that particular session, and that's why that data is not available here. You can clearly see that this is empty, rather here data is there. The only exception is the time when we are duplicating the tab. So rather than creating a separate tab and opening a URL, let's say I simply right click and duplicate it. Okay, so as per the specification, if you duplicate, then with duplicating everything else, the data, session data, is also duplicated, and that's why you can see that in this case, even if this is a separate tab, the data is copied. Okay, so you can see that in this case data is copied, and I am saying copied because this data and this data are still different. They're not same. In local storage that was same. Okay, even if you delete from one place and go another tab, that is deleted there also, because the whole website, there is a single unified storage, local storage, right? But session storage is specific to particular session, which means that let's say I delete it from here, and I go here, then I clearly see that this data is still here. You can see that this data is not here. I go to console, the data is not here, I am getting null. But in this case, this data is actually here still, and if I keep on refreshing, you can see that I keep on getting the data. And that's why I was saying that the session storage corresponding to this and session storage corresponding to this are different. Even if we did the duplicate tab thing, then also the data was copied, and after copying again, that is a separate session altogether. Okay, so they don't share data among them. Okay, you can contrast it with local storage thing. Okay, so you can see that in local storage, when I let's say I store the data, and after storing the data I commented this, which means that now I'm just trying to read the stored data, right? And now this read stored data is read from not session storage, rather this local storage. Okay, and now even if I open a complete tab, let alone duplicating, even if I completely open a separate tab, then also you will see that data persists. Okay, not only that, this data and this data are same. Okay, they are shared completely, which means that if you delete it from one place, you will see that the data is deleted from here also. Okay, so now in both tabs you are getting null because you are unable to get the data stored in local session, which local storage, which was shared among both of them. Okay, so that is the only difference in terms of life cycle of storage, the persistence duration and persistence life cycle of the storage APIs. Other than that, syntax wise, session storage and local storage both are same. Okay, so and here also in session storage also the same thing will happen, that if we have HTTP protocol and we stored some data using HTTPS, you cannot access those data here. So they will be completely different context in this case. Okay. So yeah, that will be all regarding the basic uses of storage APIs. In the next video, we'll see somewhat more advanced APIs related to storage. They might be helpful in some cases, and that's why I'll discuss that. But normal use cases of storing data inside the browser, this video should be sufficient. So let's see you in the next one.